Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about modern art, how to understand it, what you need to do to understand it so it wouldn't be a complete nonsense anymore. It is often said that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, therefore sometimes it's worth thinking for a while about it. And who knows, our views may change, but may change not. So, what is and isn't art? Most of us would agree that Michelangelo's spectacular ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, expressive face of Da Vinci's Mona Lisa, and the atmospheric paintings of Claude Monet are great examples of classical art. Such works demonstrate great skills expressed by artists' emotions. So, is it the case when we can say that modern art is rubbish or modern artists are not able to paint, their skills have degraded? No, that's absolutely not the case. Needless to say, in most cases, their artworks cost millions of dollars. The difference is the way to see the world, to accept the reality, to adapt to reality. So what do you need to understand modern art? Beside other things, it would be a good idea to see the artwork live in a museum, not on your mobile phone. Forget about understanding, just look and enjoy. Give time to each artwork. Relax. Read about the artwork. Know the artist. Understand the art movements. Have faith in your own judgment. The term modern art is usually associated with art in which the traditions of the past have been thrown away and the artist started experimenting. Modern artists experimented with new ways of seeing the world and with fresh ideas about the nature itself, the nature of different materials and functions of art. The characteristics of modern art is a tendency toward abstraction. More recent artistic production is often called contemporary art or postmodern art. So what exactly is modern art? For the better explanation of what makes an art the real art, we need to enter the world of historical background behind the art creations. The birth of modernism and modern art can be traced to the Industrial Revolution, which began around the mid-18th century. It was the period of rapid changes in manufacturing, transportation and technology. It lasted through the whole 19th century. There was no need for the skills of craftsmen anymore, no need to create the masterpieces with their own hands. It profoundly affected the social, economic and cultural conditions of life in Western Europe, North America and eventually in the world. New forms of transport, including the railroad, the steam engine, and the subway, changed the way people lived, worked, and traveled, expanding their world view and access to new ideas. As urban centers prospered, workers moved to cities for industrial jobs. Basically, the urban populations boomed. The term modern art describes basically the art produced between 1860s and 1970s. By the way, you can also use the term modern art to describe any contemporary work of art with exceptional creativity, as the term is also synonymous with freedom of thought and expression. It shows how different every human mind can be when it expresses itself to the fullest. Modern art is more about one's point of view about something than the thing itself. Sometimes even specialists struggle to decide whether something is art or not. Paleolithic Venus, a general term for small, several centimeter female figurines or statuettes found in archaeological sites in various parts of the world in the Paleolithic period. One of the most famous one is Venus of Willendorf. Most of them have small heads, wide hips, and legs that become narrow to the end. Arms and feet are often absent, and the head is usually small and faceless. Various figurines exaggerate the abdomen, hips, breast, thighs, or vulva. like they were goddesses of fertility. The hairstyles, clothing, or tattoos can be clearly seen. So the bottom line is the understanding of art and beauty may differ with time and place. What was considered beautiful before, it isn't now. Most of us think that the world is as we see it, and we usually tend to reject everything that conflicts with our point of view. This isn't just a personal prejudice, it is also a societal one. More than anything else, art has suffered from this prejudice for thousands of years. There must be hundreds of exceptionally talented artists like Vincent van Gogh, about whom we would never know anything just because they went against the convention. Modern art was probably the greatest effort that humanity has ever put to overthrow the conventions that had choked art for ages. No wonder its results were startling. Modern art is subjective. Back in the late 19th and early 20th century, machines quickly began replacing humans. The same was in case with art too. With the coming of cameras and printing, the existence of art forms like painting seemed in danger. However, just like a wild animal runs fastest when it is in danger, so did art. In short, to sustain its existence, art completely abandoned its former principles of objectivity and embraced subjectivity. Every artist wanted to be different, but they didn't want to lose the intensity and complexity that makes a work of art so intriguing. Although modern art is divided into art movements and styles, the work of every artist tends to be extremely different from the work of every other artist. Your work is shit. It is believed that this critical statement by the father of the Italian artist Pier Manzoni gave him an idea for a new work of art. In response to this insult, in May 1961, Manzoni packed his droppings into 90 numbered cans. Each contained 30 grams of excrement and was labeled with the name of the artist's shit in Italian, English, French, and German. Guess how much it costs now? Not one, but a few hundred of thousands of dollars. The painting in the middle, The Holy Virgin Mary, is a painting created by Chris O'Feely in 1996. It was one of the works included in the Sensation exhibition in London, Berlin, and New York. The subject of the work and its execution caused considerable controversy in New York, with Rudolph Giuliani. He was then a mayor of New York City, describing O'Feely's work as sick and disgusting. In 1998, O'Feely was the first black artist to be awarded the Turner Prize. The painting was sold for £2.9 million in June 2015. O'Feely has described his confusion as an altar boy at the idea of the Virgin Mary giving birth, and he has described his painting as a hip-hop version of traditional paintings of the Virgin Mary. He has also emphasized the importance of the work depicting a black Madonna. Oh my goodness, the idea of installation appeared, a multi-element artistic realization in a specific space. It is a different way, a work of art with spatial value built by an artist and adapted to a specific space. They say beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but few people are likely to think fecal matter is beautiful or worthy of being the subject of an exhibition. But that's exactly what visitors at Rotterdam's museum can see, giant imposing sculptures of turds. So there were 4 sculptures make up the complex of Warm Fellows Attitude exhibition in Rotterdam in 2018. So we try to understand the artist, understand the meaning of their work, But when you come to look at it, what is meaning anyway? We usually tend to simplify our deepest perceptions so that others can understand it. In fact, this meaningfulness is an illusion that language possesses. For example, when you say words like jealousy or love, everybody feels them differently, but they use the same word to express the feeling. In order to stop the need of meaning, which had changed creativity for ages, modern artists made their expression as free as possible. Their works are like feelings. They are meant to be felt. It might be impossible to take out the meaning out of them, as they might not have a meaning at all. Klein was a pioneer in the development of performance art and is seen as an inspiration, as a forerunner of minimal art as well as pop art. His favorite color is bright blue, and instead of brushes he uses women's bodies. The Russian artist Vasily Kandinsky is regarded as the first painter of abstract art. He was born in Moscow. His association to Expressionism and abstract art was often criticized during his lifetime, but his work and writings on artistic theory had a profound impact on Western art. His paintings often conveyed hidden meanings which might be revealed by studying his body of art. He became one of the most influential artists of his era and greatly affected the evolution of modern art. He opened the door to abstract impressionism, which has remained popular since the end of the Second World War. His use of colors and his geometric style paintings have been called duel-like by scholars of art. Remember, what people say is good isn't necessarily good for you. Modern art lays a lot of stress upon individuality. This applies not only to the artist, but to the viewers as well. Just because some paintings got sold for hundreds of millions of dollars doesn't mean you're supposed to like it. Everyone has their own taste. You don't have to like any artist because someone who introduced you to their work likes it. On the other hand, even if you come across some less known artist with whose work you feel some connection, that doesn't mean you have a bad taste. It just means that you have different taste, which is good. Piet Mondrian is known for being one of the pioneers of the 20th century abstract art, as he changed his artistic direction from figurative painting to an increasingly abstract style, until he reached a point where his artistic vocabulary was reduced to simple geometric elements. He gradually became disappointed with painting landscapes and trees and flowers, and so looked for abstract paintings. He thought it's more spiritual. His work from 1907 to about 1912 is in a way transitional, and he betrays a Cubist influence. His important works during this crossover time are Red Mill and Red Cloud. Both represent abstract techniques. So the most famous one, Mondrian's painting from 1913, Composition in Line and Color, was the first recognized painting that he considered neoplasticism, balanced black horizontal and vertical lines, which to him represented eternity because they had no end. It formed a simple grid with basic color blocks. There is no key to modern art. If you've spent your entire life on detective novels and mystery films, there is the point you should understand. No matter how complex a work of art looks, there's usually no key behind it. You don't have to look at it in a certain way or think about certain ideas while looking at it in order to understand it better. Just look and enjoy. Henri Matisse is commonly regarded, along with Pablo Picasso, as one of the artists who helped to make revolutionary changes in the visual art at the beginning of the 20th century. He was responsible for significant development in painting and sculpture. If it weren't for appendicitis, Henri Matisse might have lived a dull life as a lawyer and never discovered what he called a kind of paradise. It was during his convalescence at age 20 that Matisse's mother brought him painting supplies to help him pass the time. His mother also suggested he break a few rules and let his work be guided by emotion. He instantly discovered the sheer joy of painting. He also studied contemporary art, where his happiness and political rebellion first became noticeable, and he didn't hesitate to immerse himself in the techniques of many of the post-impressionists. He was inspired by Paul Cézanne, Georges Seurat, Paul Signac, from whom he learned a lot. Henri Matisse's famous pictures, Landscape at Couloir Museum, you can see in the Museum of Modern Art in New York City, La Danse, you can see in Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg, and also The Snail, you can see in Tate Modern in London. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the fountain, the quintessence, the apogee of contemporary art. It is a ready-made sculpture by Marcel Duchamp in 1917, consisting of a porcelain urinal signed with a mysterious R. Mott. M-U-T-T-T. In April 1917, an ordinary piece of plumbing was secretly bought by Duchamp and submitted for an exhibition of the Society of Independent Artists, the inaugural exhibition by the Society, to be staged at the Grand Central Palace in New York. The fountain was not rejected by the committee, since society rules stated that all works would be accepted from artists who paid the fee, but the work was never placed in the show area. Following that removal, the fountain was photographed, and the photo published in the magazine, Blind Man magazine, but the original has been lost. Marcel Duchamp was a French-American painter, sculptor, chess player, and writer whose work is associated with Cubism, Dada, and conceptual art. In 1919, Duchamp made a parody of the Mona Lisa by buying a cheap postcard and painted a moustache and a goatee. To this, he added the inscription LHOOQ, a phonetic game which, when read out loud in French quickly, sounds like Elle a champ au cul. This can be translated as she has a hot ass, implying that the woman in the painting is in a state of sexual excitement and availability. It may also have been intended as a Freudian joke referring to Leonardo da Vinci's alleged homosexuality. Duchamp's first work to provoke significant controversy was Nude Descending a Staircase. While his art and writings would help revolutionize the post-Second World War art world, they also demonstrated his playful personality, as evidenced by his controversial work The Fountain, that notorious urinal, a shocking work that challenged the world's notions about what is art. So what is Dada or Dadaism? It's an art movement of the European avant-garde in the early 20th century. It began in Zurich, Switzerland in 1916. It was born out of negative reaction to the horrors of the First World War. This international movement was begun by a group of artists and poets associated with the Cabaret Voltaire in Zurich. Dada movement rejected reason and logic, prizing nonsense, irrationality, intuition. The origin of the name Dada is unclear. Some believe that it is a nonsense word. Andy Warhol. an American artist, film director and producer who was a leading figure in the visual art movement known as pop art. His works explore the relationship between artistic expression, advertising and celebrity culture in the 1960s and span a variety of media including painting, silk screening, photography, film and sculpture. His work of art, Campbell's Soup Cans, helped to usher in pop art as a major art movement in the United States. Andy Warhol's Marilyn diptych is made of 2 silver canvases on which the artist silk screened a photograph of Marilyn Monroe 50 times. Damien Hirst's work, For the Love of God, is a human skull recreated in platinum and adorned with 8,601 diamonds, weighing a total of more than 1,000 carats. Approximately 15 million pounds worth of diamonds were used. It was modeled on an 18th century skull, but the only surviving human part of the origin which was original, is the teeth. The asking price for The Love of God was 50 million pounds. For Damien Hirst, death is a central theme. He became famous for a series of artworks in which dead animals, a shark, a sheep, a cow, preserved in formaldehyde. What would be the best way today to protest against the war? How could you influence the largest number of people? In 1937, Picasso expressed his outrage against the brutality and chaos of the war when the Basque town Guernica was bombarded by German aviation during the Civil War. His enormous mural-sized painting displayed to millions of visitors at the Paris World's Fair. It has since become the 20th century's most powerful anti-war statement, a painting that still feels intensely relevant today. And that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and next time you see the modern artwork, let it be the painting or an installation, you can feel familiar with it. Thank you. Bye-bye.